Hi guys, Bill here from Nostalgic Inclination, the channel dedicated to you. This is the place for all creatives, artists, musicians, and otherwise. We will share inspiration back and forth and tips and tricks, and hopefully we can grow together. Today we will be creating an animation cell, art, and background, and we will be producing a piece of music while the paint dries, because that's how we roll. So today's challenge theme is February. Let's get to it. To make art that you're really proud of or that resonates with others, you do not have to be Leonardo da Vinci. All you have to do is put your heart into your work. You can achieve remarkable results keeping things simple. As you see here, I'm sketching out simple shapes. First, we're going to wet the entire paper, back and front. This will help in the drying process, keeping everything flat. I'm using a heavy-duty Canson cold-press watercolor paper, an inexpensive set of Master's Choice cake-style watercolor paints, a fiber and round brush. In the spirit of the February challenge, I'm painting a beach scene. More on that in a moment. As you see, when painting sky, you go from dark to light gradient from top to bottom, and the same with the water when painting ocean. So I put the darkest color on the top and then I fade to light. And in the case of the ocean, I fade to green, and then I'm going to fade into the sand. The reason I've chosen a beach scene for my February challenge is because this is not my first attempt at the February challenge. Moving on to the animation cell, I chose to personify a banana in the spirit of old cartoons where imagination runs wild. My biggest tip here is to be loose with your drawing. Now for the inking. I use Dr. Phil Martin's High Carb Black Star India ink. Just take your time, make fluid motions, and make the lines thick. While the ink dries, we'll work on the details of our background. I use white acrylic paint to do the clouds and the glint on the water and the water line, and then I use colored pencil. As you see, I add a shadow under that water line to make it pop. I complete my sand dunes and I add palm trees. I'm using Faber-Castell Polychromos colored pencils and Master's Touch acrylic paint. Okay, when painting the cell, very important, we flip the cell over and paint the reverse side of the cell. So if you cross over interior lines, they will show up on the front of the cell, no worries. Now, we use the floating brush method where the bristles never touch the cell, because when they do, it can leave streaks. So my hack is I pour paint directly onto the cell and smooth it out with the brush. Okay, so while the paint dries, we're going to begin to work on some music. We're going to use the OP-1, and we are going to use the Remo Bahia buffalo drum, which is a Native American instrument, and it is traditionally made with buffalo skin, but this one is made from synthetic material, which means it stays in tune, which it's in a very odd key. I believe it's in C sharp, but don't quote me, we'll find out later, and let's get straight to it. The OP-1 is a portable synthesizer, workstation, and sampler. This little box packs quite a punch. Okay, so first we go to sampler. And we're going to arm the OP-1 to input on the microphone, and we're going to sample the buffalo drum. Lately, I've been playing a lot more acoustic instruments and traditional style instruments and have been shying away from electric music production, but here we are again, back with the electric music production. So we hold shift, we hit the microphone input, and we select the key we would like to record the sample on. Be ready for a bang. Okay, so we have our sample recorded, and the OP-1 will pitch it out across the keys, and we could play it polyphonically. And as you'll see, I'm going to choose to play it monophonically with a bit of portamento. And we are going to come up with a melodic hook, and then we're going to record that on the 4-track tape simulator built into the OP-1. And then we're going to add an arpeggio over top of that, some bass, and some percussion. After I finish this short piece of music, I will import it into Logic Pro and process it further off camera. You will now see me recording the bass drum melody line. Then I will search for sounds for the arpeggiator. Due to my inexperience posting videos on YouTube, despite having a channel since 2009, my first attempt at the February challenge came out blurry and the footage was unusable. I did illustrate a drawing of Puxatawny Phil seeing his shadow and Cupid shooting him with a heart arrow, non-lethal of course, but kind of saying, have a heart, let's just have spring. And we are recording the melody line of the bass drum. Track 2, we will do the arpeggio. Track 3, we will do bass. And then track 4, we will do drums, and we will use the sequencer. Now, unfortunately, the part where I sequenced the drums did not record. However, all is not lost, for the final piece of music turned out, and you will hear it at the end of the video, along with the assembly of the art project. Feel free to follow along by watching my fingers. I'm going to avoid getting too technical here. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will try to get back to you. I feel more comfortable getting into why I do what I'm doing, more so than how I do what I'm doing. For the cartoon art, growing up, I was a huge fan of Merry Melodies, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, the classic Disney feature-length animations, and the great cartoons of the 80s and early 90s. With the advent of digital animation, the old-fashioned hand-animated 2D cartoon cells are falling by the wayside. It takes 24 cells to make 1 second's worth of animation. With digital options everywhere, production companies won't justify the cost of the traditional 2D hand animation. So by creating a piece of animation cell art, we are preserving that history and telling a story, but rather than multiple cells, we must tell the complete story in 1 cell. On a side note, that sound I just stumbled upon happened during the process of me looking for a voice to arpeggiate. This is, in the famous words of Bob Ross, a happy accident, as I use it twice in the final piece. Once in the intro, and then I reverse it later during the transition. In art and in all creation, we embrace mistakes. Life is a work in progress, and it is our job to make the most out of what we have in front of us. This sound probably won't do because it is too resonant, and that'll sound like a bunch of birds chirping through an arpeggiator. I'm using 16th notes with a repeating pattern. So as we begin this creation video journey, I am as novice as they come. So I appreciate all of you for watching up to this point, and I would like you to give me your input. And also, in my artwork and in my music, feel free to share your tips and your inspiration. I'm here just as much to learn from you as you are from me. I hear a lot about algorithms when researching making videos, and I'm not quite sure that the algorithm favors making art in the sense of visual art and music in the same video. However, I view music as art as I view visual art as art. I'm certainly not trying to ignore the algorithm, but it is not going to be my driving force. I'm past the point in my life of doing things purely because it's what I'm supposed to do. As an artist, we reserve the right to break the rules at all times. In fact, the number one rule of being a creator is to break the rules. Here we have a bell sound. That ultimately won't wind up being what we use for the arpeggiator. That would work in certain situations, but that'll get a little too big reverb-wise. Ultimately, I think we settle on a simple pulse wave with a 3-note arpeggiation using 16th notes. And as you'll see, when I'm working out the bass part, I try to overcomplicate things. And going back to the animation cell, the same philosophy applies. Sometimes the simpler you go, the better the result is. So ultimately, this channel is going to be all about the audience. My vision is to create a network where fellow creatives can share ideas and inspiration, and we can teach each other and inspire each other to do more. We are all artists. Everyone is an artist. The only difference is many people are most creative during the childhood years of their life, and then they grow up and have to get serious, because that is how society has groomed us. And there is a lot of merit to being responsible, and we would be in pretty big trouble without the serious, practical people in our society. But as creators, we channel the child within us. Making art and music is a euphoric endeavor for me. We must do what makes us happy, because life is far too short. I have many ideas of videos that I can make in the future, but I would like your input. After all, this is the channel dedicated to you, the audience. I will focus on art and music. However, we may touch upon other topics or discussions, and maybe we will do some question and answer live sessions in the future. Some things I'm looking to learn right away from the audience is, do you guys prefer long videos? Do you prefer short videos? Do you prefer music videos? Do you prefer art videos? Do you like having both in the same video? Would you like me to showcase more instruments? I have a myriad of instruments. Would you like me to show you how I work on Logic Pro, or would you like me to show you how I work on Ableton or Pro Tools? Would you like me to do painting, oil painting, acrylic painting? The sky is the limit. I challenge all of you to create a piece of art and or a piece of music based off of the month February. And perhaps you'll upload it to YouTube and I will watch. So the piece is starting to come together, as you will soon hear the finished product. Now we're searching for a bass sound. And I overcomplicate things a little bit, but then in the end I wind up just playing the root note, and I add some tremolo through Logic Pro, and it all winds up coming together in the end. Before the big reveals, I would like to once again thank everybody for watching, and I will be back ASAP with the next video I am chomping at the bits. This is a learning experience, and I am here for it, and I hope you are as well. So sit back and enjoy. Be kind to one another and live life to the fullest. We are all made of the same stardust. And for one last public service announcement, be careful not to get paint on your synthesizers.